One of the things that I've loved about this experience is using Bear Note with my Apple Watch. Hey, it's Chris. Now, before we even get into this, Bear Notes did not sponsor this video. Recently, I had a conversation with the bearded broadcaster himself, Steven Robles, and during that conversation, he brought up why he uses Bear and what all he does with it, what makes it so cool, and he basically convinced me that I should give it a shot. Now that I've had time to do it, I've tried it out, and it turns out I really love it. So I want to get into briefly what I love about it today, and then I'm going to give you a clip of my conversation with Steven so he can convince you his own self. Very quick heads up though before we get into this, I love learning new things and I love sharing what I learned. I've got a new pre-order bundle for some courses that I have coming up, which will give you $450 worth of my courses for $99. So you'll get AI Disruption Blueprint, which is going to help you reposition your career for minimal disruption due to AI over the next decade, along with my Hidden Creativity course, which will help you unlock your innovative side, on top of my recent course, Pro iPhone Video Essentials. So you can see why I've called it the Future-Proof Creative Bundle, $450 worth of courses for $99 for a limited time. Check it out, linked up down below. I've got to say, I've been loving this new Apple Watch. I've switched from the Ultra, and that's neither here nor there for this video, but one of the things that I've loved about this experience is using Bear Note with my Apple Watch. You have to understand, I'm switching over from Apple Notes, and one thing that I've wanted from Apple forever was an Apple Watch Notes app, but that never materialized. Here, I've got access to all my notes, and I can record new notes right here from the Apple Watch, and I can just use my voice, and I can create some notes. I can append or prepend stuff to notes that already exist. This has been such an upgrade in my life. I can't even tell you, because oftentimes I want to leave my phone, just leave it, and take my watch, grab my AirPods, and just kind of go light in terms of the tech footprint. And having access to a full-featured Notes app and experience on my wrist has been awesome. You can see this inline quote support here. You know, the headings look great. It's just awesome. Now, most people, when they think about Bear, probably think about it as a Markdown note-taking app because that's how they promote it. Markdown notes you'll love, which is fine. Over the years, I've never been super into Markdown stuff, so that's not the make or break experience for me, but what is the design. The design here is crazy. Objectively, it's just a better looking design than Apple Notes. It is far more customizable than Apple Notes. Now, you get a lot of stuff for free with Bear. I went ahead and upgraded immediately because of all the things you get. One of the things you get is better themes. It's nice to have some personality, like, you know, this yellow theme that you get, which is kind of based on this skeuomorphic design of a yellow notepad, you know, brought into the digital realm with Apple Notes. It's fine, it's not bad. But this theme I've got going on right here, the Tokyo Nights theme, it works better for me. So you can see as I scroll through here, there's so many themes for you to choose from. So you really can't dial in the theme, like the colors that feel the best to you. Now, I would never switch to a Notes app just for the themes, the colors literally themselves. It's just a nice to have thing on top of the design. The design just feels spacious. Legitimately, I like spending more mental time inside of Bear Notes, whether it's on the iPhone or the iPad or the Apple Watch or the Mac, with this super minimal, just delicious looking design. Now, people on this channel know I'm really into using the iPad, and I can't have a Notes app that doesn't have Apple Pencil support, that doesn't work well with the Apple Pencil. This does, and I've got the scribble support baked right in here. Love that. But then in terms of just actually scribbling around and, you know, making quick sketches or whatever, it has very simple, minimal Apple Pencil support, but that's really all I need. Now, I want to point out that I recently made an entire video about redoing my lock screen and my home screen to really feature Bear Notes widgets. But the widget support is just so much more robust than Apple Notes. I've got my favorite note that I get into and out of all the time. That's sort of my own personal wiki pinned right there. The ability to create a new note. I can set my action button here to get into different sections of the app, which is super useful. And then on the lock screen, I can just jump right back into the last app that I had open. Down on the bottom of the screen now, I switched out that shortcut so that I can easily just create a new to-do list. So the widgets are an absolutely huge, critical, crucial part of this decision for me. You got single note, there's the sidebar so you can display recent notes from any of the sections, you know, like new or today or whatever. That comes in a few different sizes. There's the search. If you need to just search around, you can do a specific keyword or something. So that's very powerful, a way to filter through those as well. And then you can just create a note or find notes, do random notes. So lots of widget support there. And I think when I hand this off to Steven in the clip that I'm going to show, he's going to do a lot better job of convincing you that you need to switch than what I'm doing, because he's been using it for so long and he gets really into shortcuts and he just knows all the details. But that word there, details, that's one of the other things for me that I just am focusing in on. It's the little details, and there's so many of them. Like, for instance, at the top of the screen here, I've got some navigation. So if I want to go back and forth between recent notes, I can easily do that. I love that. And that's something that you can turn off or on with this toggle navigation history here. I also love that I can come and see the stats here. 454 words on this particular note, or I can change those to characters, whatever. But even cooler than that, let me just hide that, is I can hit this this information icon here, and that's just gonna give me everything right there. So all the different stats, when this was created, how many paragraphs, what's the read time. So if you do any writing in here, it's just all built in. You can see it's got backlinks here, so you can create your own personal wiki, and I love that as well. I like the way it handles it. Even the tags are very different. There's all these icons that you can add to the tags. So even the tags are like more aesthetic while still being very simple. Apple is very focused on privacy and security. And so it's important for me when I switch that Bear has good, robust security as well. You can lock notes if you need to. Everything is just synced with iCloud. I mean, the Bear people, they can't see it. It's encrypted. So the Pro version, which is actually really reasonably priced, gives you so much. You got OCR search, so you can search through your PDFs. You can see text inside of photos, for example. You'd be surprised how much of a difference being able to resize and crop your images makes. With Apple Notes, it's just all very default. One huge feature that I absolutely love that Apple Notes just recently kind of sort of got is the ability to fold sections. So if you have a big long note with lots of headers, you can fold those in so you can really just concentrate on only one part of the note, which is super helpful if you're trying to focus. And what I love here is that I can collapse sections individually or in the whole note. So I can collapse or expand all the sections all at once with a tap. That's great. But then even bullet points, if you have sub bullets, can also be folded so you can save some space as well. So for outlining and stuff, that is just amazing. So much more robust than Apple Notes. I do just feel like it's more focused. Everything here helps me focus more. And one of my favorite things to do when I'm working with Bear and with so many apps is to put on Brain.fm with my AirPods. You might know by now that it's focus music that's just designed to get you into the zone. Super helpful for me when I'm trying to tune out distractions. And honestly, it sounds good enough that you would want to listen to it anyways, even if it wasn't science-backed. It is science-backed, so the fact that it sounds good and it's science-backed and it actually works is all awesome. They're the sponsor of this video. They're making this content possible, so I wouldn't have been able to make this video without a sponsor. And so I'm glad it's Brain.fm. If you go to brain.fm/dailytech, daily TEKK, or use the link in the description, you'll get 30 days for free to try it out and evaluate it. Highly recommend it. Now, Steven Robles is quite the dude. When it comes to Apple stuff, he is deep in the trenches of automation and productivity. He managed to get so much done, which is why I wanted to talk to him in the first place on my new Side Unseen channel, which is linked up down below. Lots of cool interviews with people, including Miles Somerville. He works for MKBHD, so you can go dig into that. But Steven was one of the first people I talked to, and as I said, we got into why he uses Bear Notes. In fact, all of his app stack there. And I just want to play a short clip for you of what he told me about how he uses Bear and why it's better. Because for me, I always thought about like Bear as, well, it costs a few bucks a month. I don't think it's worth it. Apple Notes is free. And this conversation changed my mind. So I'm curious, why did you settle on Bear of all the apps? There's a million note apps, why Bear?
I love Bear for several reasons. It has Markdown support, which immediately distinguishes it from Apple Notes, which doesn't have Markdown support. So I like Markdown. So it has Markdown. I think the design is beautiful, like the themes, and formatting wise, I'm a little weird. I'll do some things in HTML, like my podcast show notes. I have shortcuts that automate those show notes into HTML. So I want something that can handle HTML, that does Markdown, but also handles rich text, because I have some things that are rich text and I want to keep it that way. And Bear handles all of that. It does great colors coding for HTML, which is especially needed for me because podcast show notes are there every week. And Bear has a really cool feature. Ulysses has this too, but I can select text in a Bear note and I can copy as HTML, Markdown, rich text, or plain text. And this way, whatever format I kind of throw into Bear, I can get it out in whatever format I need. Like my podcast host doesn't support HTML. Why do I do it in HTML? I don't know. That's just my preference. so I copy as rich text for my podcast host. But also I have plain text for the YouTube video because obviously no HTML in YouTube. So Bear, I can just throw whatever at it, get whatever out. The tags and organizations works well in my mind, and it's just I'm one of the people that I like to feel a little bit of delight when I'm using an app, and so good design, good animations, good flow is important to me. And that's why I use Things for my tasks and Bear for my notes because they feel good.
All right, so there is Steven's thoughts. That's what started me down the rabbit hole in the first place, and I'm glad that I did. This is one of those things where it's like you try it out and you're like, I could do that if I had the time, and I finally had the time and I got into it. And then as I started to use it and understand it, and just it felt like a breath of fresh air, the interface. You know, like I said earlier, spending time here is less taxing, I feel like, than in Apple Notes and some other apps. It's not that Apple Notes is bad. It's that it just isn't as good as it could be. Bear Notes is like what a Notes app should be, what it should feel like to use. You're delighted when you're inside. It has enough power under the hood that you can do incredible things with it, like beyond the basics, but also they've kept it so simple that if all you want to do is just stay organized and have things look good, you can, do everything that you need to minimally inside of a Notes app here and not miss anything. That is just like, it's the perfect package, honestly. Well, I take that back. Nothing is actually perfect. And maybe later I'll do a more thorough, in-depth review. I just kind of want to talk about why I switched to Bear Notes. So give me your feedback. Have you used Bear? Have you stayed away from it? What's your thoughts? And if you're not using Bear, what are you using and why? Let's kind of get the discussion going here because I'm really curious what you have to say. Don't forget to check out that bundle, okay? $450 worth of courses for $99 for a very limited time if you hit that pre-sale. Check it out. It's linked up below, and I'll catch you in the next video. Later.